Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank the witnesses for testifying before the subcommittee today. I was in another hearing in Cannon, so I apologize for not being here for all of your testimony and all of the questions. Dr. Eisner, your testimony describes ways in which you and your patients rely on the results of customized lab-developed tests, or LDTs. How would the impacts of the proposed rule be experienced across different areas of medicine, such as for oncology versus more generalized health practices?
Thank you very much for the question. I think this is a very rubber hits road question. And I think, again, I will point to this JAMA Oncology paper from 2018. And I think one of the critical things to recognize from this paper is that even among labs that used FDA-approved test kits, a substantial fraction of them modified them. And that is the reality of medical practice, is that the constraints that come with an FDA-approved test are not necessarily seen in day-to-day practice. You sometimes have to color outside the lines to be able to get the test for your patient. And the ability to color outside the lines, I think, will be completely hampered.
Given the increasing reliance in clinical practice on sophisticated instrumentation such as AI or software used in conjunction with genetic testing, how does your lab establish safeguards?
I think that's an excellent question. I am personally able to avoid that at the moment, as we do not use AI, and most of my colleagues that I have polled on this also do not use AI at their academic medical centers. I do think one of the big concerns is that to be able to focus on those concerns about security, about patient privacy concerns, we need resources. And if we are devoting all of our resources to an FDA review process, there will be nothing left to focus on the other important issues.
Thank you. Dr. Allen, you and your organization have been engaged on the LDT issue for years. Do you feel there are differences between the standard of validation for test kits and laboratory-developed tests that warrant tailored regulatory approaches?
Yes, I do think there are differences in the current requirements that are required for lab-developed tests versus in vitro diagnostic kits. And hopefully that's something that we can resolve through these discussions today. I think we need to focus more on the results that the tests are providing as opposed to the place that they're being developed by.
And some stakeholders have observed that the technology certification provision in the VALID Act is particularly well suited to regulate AI and software products. Do you agree?
Yes, I think it is one component of that. I think there are a lot of complexities, and I know this committee has done a lot of work around the role of AI in healthcare. But I do think it's also well suited for things that we've been involved in around looking at how different tests compare to one another. This is particularly true for complex diagnostic tests currently because there are so many different alterations that are incorporated into those measures. To try and understand how each of those different measures contribute to the end result is important for consistency in testing. I think we'll see the same thing for AI-based testing as well.
Thank you, and hopefully this will be a very short answer question. If this particular rule was in place during COVID, we already saw the challenges with the CDC and the FDA getting testing approved, even though the University of Washington had a test. So would this have created more difficulty in getting testing out to the public in a rapid manner if this rule was in place? Any of you?
Thank you for the question. I don't believe so because tests that are put into the market during public health emergencies currently are required to obtain an EUA, and this rule does not address that issue.
So you don't think that they would utilize the current rule, that they would transfer it? I'm always concerned about government overreach. We continue to face a pernicious opioid substance use disorder crisis in this country. Beyond opioids, new deadly synthetics are constantly changing and must be tracked so that doctors and other caregivers can best understand how to care for those struggling with substance use disorders. And even as a state senator and director of public health, we had to deal with this issue in Iowa. Ms. Van Meter, can you talk about the role that LDTs serve in testing for such substances and how shifting to the medical device authorities would impact patient access?
Yes, thank you for the question. Laboratory-developed test services are absolutely essential and central to toxicology testing, to ensuring that public health understands what new substances are in communities, that patients can be cared for who are going through substance use disorder treatment.
Thank you very much, and I yield back.